What's happening, brothers? I want to thank you in advance for viewing this video. And if you're viewing this video after many of my future videos that you've watched, right, you probably are wondering what the hell is a spiritual opulence experience. I want this video to serve as a initial course, if you will, or an elementary course in explaining what the spiritual opulence experience is, or for the most part, what is spiritual opulence. But before I get into that, I really just want to say that my channel in of itself is not a pro-black channel. It's not a victim channel. It is not a channel where it's going to be a lot of Bible thumping on here, right? The Bible will be a big part of this channel, but it's not going to always be the focal point of this channel, if you will. This is just going to be a space where the so-called black man, and not only the so-called black man, but just an umbrella of brothers, period, especially the children of Israel, that we have a place here where we talk about certain things that affect us. But this channel in of itself is like the Chronicles of Judah 144, a pro-truth channel geared toward the so-called black man. And for all others that join this platform, if you disagree, that's fine. I mean, I don't really want this space to be an echo chamber, but just be respectful when you disagree. Okay. But just going on to the matter, what is spiritual opulence? Well, spiritual opulence, as I have coined the phrase, is understanding the end game in your life. And when I say the end game in your life, I mean that the end game in your life according to the book of Revelation, right? A lot of people are not spiritually grounded because a lot of times in life or even in current times, right? The political climate, everything is political now. Everything is political. Even sports has become political. There's a left or right issue. And then there are many people that tell you that you cannot take a center position on anything. I would like to look at myself. I've always said that I didn't like either party. I'm apolitical. And I really don't take part in any elections. And some people say that that's disrespectful to the people who have died. And as Ice Cube so accurately put it, no one died so that we could vote. That's one of the biggest misconceptions in life. But of course, that's for another conversation. But when you understand the end game in your life, according to the book of Revelation, right, then you understand that you don't let other nations of people, and especially the modern day liberal so-called black woman, you do not let either one of those entities put a batter in your back, right? The other part to explaining what is spiritual opulence is taking ownership of your life while finding and understanding your purpose. A lot of times, man, we as so-called black men, we most of our young people, they only want to be entertainers. And I would be lying if I didn't tell you that when I was growing up that I didn't want to be an athlete myself. Some of my favorite basketball players were Penny Hardaway, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, right? Those were people. Scottie Pippen was, even though him and Michael Jordan aren't getting along right now. But those were some of my favorite players growing up. And I remember when Mike first got in the league, so sort of telling my age, but my dad and we used to watch the games tape delayed, right? And so in the black community, athletes and entertainers were the heroes. But for me, I understood different, or I was taught different, because I did have my father in my life. My mom and my father were not married long. They were married long enough for me to get here, and that was it, right? But my dad was drafted in the Vietnam War, and so you take a young college student who's on the cusp of graduating and wanting to go to law school, and now he's drafted and he's thrown to the wolves. He has to go to Paris Island, South Carolina. He has to be stripped down as a civilian and made to be a soldier, and then he's thrown out there to Saigon to fight. And when he comes back, things are different. He isn't the man that he once was. So, with that said, even though I had my father, I still saw entertainers as heroes. And so for me, my watershed moment, or my aha moment, rather, was just hearing an old speech that Malcolm X had, where he talked about that athletes, entertainers, comedians, those are quote unquote the leaders in the black community. And there's no other nation of people in the world that actually has those people serving as their leaders. And he's absolutely right. But my father, I remember bringing home an assignment, and my dad, I asked him to help me, and the assignment was, who is your superhero, or who is your hero? And I wrote down Captain America. I wrote down, the X-Men. I wrote down Iron Man, Wolverine. And I'm, these were the people even though Wolverine's a part of the X-Men, I also read Wolverine comics, right? I mean, everybody thought that Wolverine was just a phenomenal mutant superhero because he had the claws coming out of his fist, right? And then there was Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom probably was my all-time favorite character in Marvel Comics. And my dad looked at that, and then I also put Michael Jordan, King Griffey Jr., and he looked at that and he was like, my dad has a deep voice, and he was like, son, do these people feed you? No, sir. Son, do these people buy you shoes? Do they buy you clothes? Do they take you to the doctor when you're sick? No, sir. All right, then you probably need to take your ass back to that table and reevaluate who your hero is. I think you're looking at him. So I got a crash course real quick on, who's your real hero. And that was my first teaching in understanding that, yes, your father is your role model. Your uncle is your role model. Your big brother is your role model, right? You may have a cousin that has his stuff together. He's your role model, right? Your role model is the circle, the people in your circle, your family that have a positive influence on you, and they can also discipline you in other ways, right? And so that goes back to taking ownership of your life and understanding your purpose. Men who are grounded and have had good role models. And I'm not talking about the athletic coach because you came from a single mother household, because hell, I'm a teacher. I was also a police officer. I'm also a coach, football coach, basketball coach, right? And yes, it is true. We can reach children in ways that most people cannot. But the thing is that we also reinforce false narratives that the athlete is the role model, and they are not. Because there's been time on time where the athlete themselves has fallen short, and they don't act like that they have a fiduciary responsibility to be an example for your child. Because at the end of the day, like my dad said, these people don't feed you. They don't clothe you. They don't care for you. They have their own people that they're looking out for. And so when a so-called black man does not understand his purpose, right, there's a vacuum in his life, and he's seeking to fill that void. And so other nations of people have come in, and through the family court system, through systemic laws, through the federal government, incentivizing women to remove the man from the home, using laws to make sure that the man no longer has any say-so in his home, that he can't be the chief priest and counselor of his own home, cannot be the king of his own home, has to be removed, right? And so in a world today where our children are being programmed to hate us because we don't have a good relationship with the woman that we had this child with, right? Our women also turn against us, and they say that we're useless to them. And so with all of the problems in life, we are seen as being the individuals responsible for some of these problems, but we're also looked at by people who have an honest assessment, and that we can be and we are the solution to many of the problems. But culturally, as a collective people, there's other issues that we have that take us down as a nation of people. But the other part of what is spiritual opulence is, brothers, some of us as brothers, we're in the knowledge. And when I say in the knowledge, that means that we adhere to the teachings and the scriptures within the King James 1611 Bible or the King James Bible with the Apocrypha. At least that's what you should be reading. And so for many brothers that have gravitated toward this channel and have viewed the content, right? You know that I walk a certain way. And if you latch on to some of the things that I say, then that means that you are a very learned individual in terms of the Bible. And so a lot of the spiritual questions that you have been answered. So by you understanding and knowing what's in the Bible for yourself so that other people cannot deceive you, right? And you seek the counsel of wise men who know the Bible and can give you a great base to lean on, right? Then you walk life differently than most people. And I think that of all the things that I've said, this is probably the one thing that gives you spiritual opulence more than anything, because you understand what your purpose is, but you also understand, in essence, what the Bible is about. And so you tend to live life stress-free because you're looking and saying, well, there's a lot of grenades out there, and I'm not diving on any of those fucking grenades. I ain't diving on shit. That ain't got nothing to do with me. At the end of the day, my job is to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, to look toward my cover, which is the Mashiach, and live my days out stress-free. And I will govern my woman or the women that I'm with, and I will raise my children the correct way, and I will keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. And I don't have time for what other people got going on in their life, because they fucking their own life up. They not fucking mine up. The only way that you can have a damper in life in reference to spiritual opulence is that you have tied yourself to an extremely bad woman that you just cannot seem to get rid of. And until you learn how to trim the fat from your life, you will definitely have a lot of problems. But that does not mean that you give up, right? There's solutions to problems, but you just have to have the courage. Again, I'm going to repeat that. You have to have the courage to let go of certain things and to move yourself in a different direction. The other question that you may have asked is, why do you have to have spiritual opulence? Well, look, as a so-called black man, right, you want to live life peacefully. And so if you have spiritual opulence, man, you're going to experience peace. You're going to have a high level of confidence. You will have a high level of discipline in your personal life. You also have a high level of sexual discipline, right? You'll be able to judge women accordingly and put yourself in great positions to not mess up your life through a woman. You'll be a three-dimensional thinker. Many of you have probably heard Chronicles of Judah 144 say this, and that's true. He was the only channel out there that said that, but I heard the phrase back in college, and there was a teacher, it was an instructor that I had in college, that he always used to tell us that if you think in the past, if you look at the past, you assess the here and now with a clear head, and you think about your decisions and how they will impact your future, that will make you a three-dimensional thinker. And to a degree, that's sort of how Chronicles of Judah explained it. Right? That's sort of how he explained it. Not to that extent, but it was in the ballpark. And so when you have a high level of foresight, right, you walk a lot differently. Or let me say this, you walk much differently, rather, than most of your constituents. And by being grounded in the scriptures, you have a real moral compass. I'm going to repeat that. You have a real moral compass. And that's going to be important because it goes into how do you obtain spiritual opulence, right? If you're going to obtain spiritual opulence, you have to have an open mind, and you have to have a willingness to learn through research. You just can't listen to what any nigga tell you. You just cannot. You have to know for yourself what it is that you need to do. You have to have purpose in your life, and you have to move like you have purpose in your life. So if you have an open mind and a willingness to learn through research, and you also have to trust in the Most High and the Mashiach, right? You have to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of your ability. And to me, one of the most important things is if you have goals in your life, if you got goals in your life, shit don't start to make sense until you start actionizing the things in your life that you wanted to do. You have to physically move. You have to have the courage to move in a direction that's going to bring you some form of happiness. You have to. I mean, that's just important. And if you are busy actionizing your life's plans and goals to be the best version of yourself, you are not in any position to hear the bullshit that people have to say about you. You don't have time for that because you're busy doing the things in life that's going to make you a better person. Period. You also have to understand your value as a man, and going back to that real moral compass, you have to understand your values. In order for so-called black men to take back their community, and especially, most importantly, their household, man, by having a real moral compass, that means your ass got values. You have values, which means that you now have something to teach your children. You now have something to teach your woman. You are living your life as the example of the things that you want to manifest. Okay? These things are paramount if you're going to take back your community and reestablish a different culture. The Bible says, seek the old path, right? Well, the old tried and true method is a way that has worked. Then you shouldn't expect anything less than the best when you're doing whatever it is that you need to do in terms of taking back your community and actionizing real culture. That means that the house next door to you, they're raising their children the same way you're raising yours. And everybody's watching after everyone. And there's that saying that women love to say where it takes a village to raise a child. Bullshit. I'm not finna let any village raise my seed, or not even raise my seed, look after my seed in my absence. There is just no way in hell that the average community today is a village that's worth raising a child. The few people that reach a level of spiritual opulence and actually become someone, that's the few far in between. That means that the Most High had his hands on them and it was destined for them to be something. The Bible says that 2/3 of the people have to be cut off. So there's a lot of people out there who think that they're going to get something and they ain't going to get it because their mind is closed. Right? The people perish for lack of knowledge. The people perish when there's no vision. That's just simply the way it is. But also, if you know your value as a man, brothers, we are the prize. We are the prize. I mean, think about it. Women always ask, there ain't no good men out there. You're not hearing any men going out there talking about the women. We busy trying to get that bread. We are busy trying not to fumble the bag. We're busy learning from the mistakes of simp men, right? And we're learning from the mistakes or the things that our mothers have taught us, that we were raised in single mother households, and we're trying to rise up out of the bullshit that was taught to us by the baby boomer generation. Right? Man, just for the record, I'm a Gen X person. Okay. Right. I'm an 80s baby. So, at my age now, I mean, I'm not a millennial. I'm a Gen X. So I was born the very last year that you could be born in Generation X. And our parents, man, they taught us a lot of bad things because they held on to a lot of hurt and trauma that they experienced in the 60s. But again, if you understand your worth and you understand your values, right, these things are paramount in establishing culture in your home and what you're instilling in your children, which is why it says if you train up a child in the way they should go, that when they get old, it will not depart. Now, that's true because you never know what you're raising as a parent. You never know what you're raising as a parent. But if you make sure that you cover all of the bases, because I get into arguments all the time with people when they talk about, well, there's just no way that you can keep your child away. Man, look, that's bullshit. Okay? There are parents who think they're doing a great job because when it comes to their children, they're watching the front door. And they do a great job of watching the back door, right? But they don't watch the windows, and they don't watch other avenues for the outside world to get in the house, i.e. the television, the smartphone, the video game console, right? And then you're sitting there scratching your head wondering why your child has a different thought process than you, why your child is into certain things that you didn't teach them, and you're wondering how they got it. Oh, check the cell phone. Yeah. Check the television content that you're watching or that they're watching. But lastly, right, if you, in these last days, if you have understood all of the things that I've just said, then you're going to live a peaceful life until this society is destroyed and you're ready to take your place in the kingdom, assuming that you have kept the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of your ability, and it has been pleasing in the Most High's sight at the time of judgment. For any brother out there that is watching this video and you've gotten to this point, let me be honest, or let me be straight up with you. Shit probably not going good for you right now. But that does not mean that you give up, right? You have a lot of things that are going on in your life. Do not put yourself in the Victim Olympics. Don't be running in the Victim Olympics. Don't be swimming in the Victim Olympics. Don't be boxing in the Victim Olympics. Don't be shooting basketball in the Victim Olympics. Don't be skeet shooting in the Victim Olympics. Don't be doing archery. Don't do no kind of fucking sport in the Victim Olympics. Because you have what it takes to rise above what you got going on. You have to have courage to trim the fat from your life. You have to have courage to start actionizing the things in life that is going to help make you a better person. And when you do those things, right, and you trust in the Most High, and you stop swinging, as I told a friend, when you stop fighting, when you stop swinging, you'll realize you're the only one fighting. There are people out here that their job is to throw grenades and to coerce you or trick you or gaslight you into diving onto that grenade because it's for your benefit. It's never in your benefit to dive on a fucking grenade that has nothing to do with you, period. So again, if you've gotten to this point in this video, as the brother 2 Chainz said, when you woke up this morning, nigga, you winning. Because some people didn't wake up this morning and some people didn't go home last night. You did. You have another chance at it. And for every day that you get a new chance at life, take advantage of it. Until next time, brothers, keep your head on a swivel, cover your six, stay out the shit. Peace.